how all things experience, but do rocks and trees experience it, right? Are they going to protest at you? Okay, let's remember that, again, we're not projecting naive feelings onto a rock, right? Although some in the Christian tradition and the Hebrew tradition have talked about the rocks crying out, right? We remember this from the biblical passage. So the human experience in terms of body is this remarkably coordinated system of feeling and inheritance. In comparison, a rock is going to be a far less complex societal coordination. Okay, it doesn't have the kind of unity Whitehead imagines for personal experience. So the rock doesn't have a kind of unified experience so that it could protest when you throw it. Nevertheless, for Whitehead, its aggregates, what it's made of, these events that are happening in the rock that are maintaining, persisting the character of rock, do have experience, right? So there's a distinction between the levels of organization and the levels of experience, okay? A rock will change over time, very, very long stretches of time. Okay, plants and trees are certainly considerably more complex than rocks. And for all we know, who's to say that there's not a kind of holistic tree experience? Okay, we should be skeptical about people who quickly dismiss that. But it wouldn't be the kind of unity of coordination, it seems, required to have complex experience like our own, okay? Nevertheless, again, the aggregational members of the tree are going to be experiential through and through, okay? And another distinction that should be made is between living and non-living kinds of societies, right? A rock is not generally considered to be a living reality, whereas a tree certainly is. Plants and trees are organic, living beings in a certain sense. Okay, we should spend just a minute or two, and we'll go just a few moments over. I apologize for that. To get through this material, one question that has to be raised is the question of the mind-body problem. And it is no joke to say, if any of you have been following the philosophical literature, the problem of consciousness, the mind-body problem, is the most acute problem for philosophy, the question of consciousness, okay? Basically, the hard problem of consciousness, as it's called, is the question of how consciousness can emerge from states or conditions that completely lack experience and consciousness. Okay, let's put it another way. If vacuous dead matter is affirmed as fundamental and you are made of this, then how the devil are you a conscious and experiencing thing? This hasn't easily been solved. Okay, let's put it slightly differently. How does qualitative conscious experience, that is the taste of sugar, the feeling of blue or green, how does that arise from purely physical states that are devoid of feeling or consciousness? Well, Whitehead says that this is intractable. They do not, because there is no condition in the universe that is completely devoid of experience, completely devoid of feeling. And it's this materialistic philosophy that has really created this very intractable problem. Okay, so let's remember then, Whitehead denies the universe being constructed of vacuous dead matter. This is simply a frozen abstraction. It's like taking a picture of a movie and then saying that's what's real. Okay, rather mind, subjectivity are spread all throughout nature. Okay, and he affirms this precisely because human beings are a part of nature, and human beings have subjectivity, mental operations, and feeling. Okay, and that's what this quote gets at. Right, we find ourselves living within nature, despite the fact that science wants to say that nature is mindless or valueless. He concludes that we should conceive mental operations then as among the factors which make up the constituents of nature. Okay, finally, let me just conclude with a statement about consciousness here. Okay, so for Whitehead, then, nature is not mindless. It's not devoid of experience or subjectivity, right? Each event has its mental pole, its mental functioning. But experience, remember, is more fundamental. So consciousness is a very highly complex evolutionary achievement of extraordinary complexity. And you can conceive of, at least if you have the ingredients of experience being fundamental, you can really conceive of a way in which an evolutionary process is layered, is ordered in such a way that deeper and deeper experience emerges, and finally that consciousness as the crown dawns, right? And we're rushing through this, but this pan-experientialism, this notion that experience goes all the way down, becomes the key to thinking through this consciousness problem. So he says consciousness is the crown of experience, only occasionally attained, not its necessary base, right? Consciousness doesn't go all the way down in existence. Right? This is why some process thinkers have protested against the language of panpsychism, right? Which is saying mind or conscious mind goes all the way down. Okay, so consciousness generally emerges from experience that is synthesized in extraordinary coordinations and levels and inheritance. The organization is mind-boggling, and that's what, in a sense, you are as a conscious